everyone, and welcome back to DIY with Melissa. Of course, I'm Melissa, and today I have a question for you. How many times have you wasted vinyl or HTV on a project because it just would not fit? It was cut too big or too small for the project, and you had to dump it and start all over again. Hands up if it's been more than 5 times. I struggled with sizing things correctly so much at the beginning of my Cricut journey. I wasted a lot of vinyl, HTV, whatever the case may be, a lot because I just could not get the measurements correct. I kind of went with whatever it said it was and I ran with that only to realize that it was probably likely off from what it said. And for instance, a canvas. A canvas gives us a size. If it's an 8 by 8 or a 10 by 10, then that's the size it should be. Have you ever actually measured that canvas though? Well, don't worry about that. We're going to do that together in this video. So without further ado, let's head over to the craft table. We're going to start there and then we're going to go to the computer. We're kind of going to go back and forth amongst the different blanks that I'm going to show you today. But I think this will be a good one. I hope you enjoy it. Let's head over to the craft table. To begin, we need some tools to measure with. I really like this long Cricut ruler. It is 18 inches long. I use this quite often when I'm measuring blanks. I also have a smaller ruler. This is from We Are Memory Keepers. It came with a board to cut things and it's a magnet. I like this for small blanks like these. It's just, to me, easier to measure. And of course, a measuring tape is also another good one to have. The measuring tape will allow you to measure things like cups, glasses, tumblers, that sort of thing. So we'll get right into it by starting with the t-shirt. For t-shirts, there are a lot of templates online as to how big your design should be depending on the size of your t-shirt. I will link a couple to the description so you have that. So t-shirts, you don't necessarily have to measure for your design prior to creating it because the guide will tell you. So if it's a small to a large t-shirt, typically you would do a 9 to 9.5 inch design, and that's by the width. The length, of course, we have more to play with, so we can make it, you can make it as long as a t-shirt if you want, or, pretty much however long you want to make it, you can. So for t-shirts, my whole thing is I like to see how a design is going to sit on the t-shirt. So if it's 9.5 inches, that's how big the design will be up to my thumb here. And just an eyeball. I'm a very visual person, so this is very much because of that reason why I do this. So that's how I will decide how big to make the design. Because depending on what it is, I might want to go up to 10 inches, which is against the norm from the sizing guide. But like I said, depending on the design, 10 inches might make more sense, and we have enough space to make a 10-inch design here. So that's why I kind of play around with the sizing of t-shirts prior to just following the guide and doing it. Head over to the computer so I can just show you what I do in Design Space as well, because there are templates in Design Space to get my design the right size. Okay, we are back at the computer and I'm going to go through what I would do if I was making a t-shirt design today. I would go ahead and get my design going. So whether it be a design that you're picking up from images, or if you are creating the design, whatever the case may be, you want to bring that in and do what you have to do. So I'm just going to use a design that's available here, like so. Now, as I mentioned, a large t-shirt, the sizing should be 9 to 9.5 inches wide. So I'm going to make this 9.5 inches wide. And of course, we can just go up here and put 9.5 or whatever the sizing is. I'll make this smaller. Now that I have the design, I'm ready to cut. But I want to visually see what it's going to look like. if I go up to templates, which is the second button on the left here, you'll see there are a bunch of templates that we can work with, t-shirt of course being one. Click on t-shirt. We have child small to large, adult small to 3XL. So we have a few of them that we can use to test out. So as you know, my t-shirt is a size large. So I'm going to bring in that adult large. And it looks like everything shrunk. It's because our canvas has gotten smaller when we brought the template in. Don't fret. This is still 9.5 inches. So now I can place this on my t-shirt and decide if I'm happy with it. So if I'm looking at this, I can just say yay or nay. Do I want to make it a little bit bigger? Cricut is saying that this box should be what you're using to fill your design. And of course, the top portion here is the 3 inches that you should have it from the neckline. That's what that is. And the design will sit right under there. The template gives you a front t-shirt design area. It also gives you a pocket design area and the back of the t-shirt design area. So you can use this as a guide to help you decide how big you want your design and what it will look like on a t-shirt. Once you're happy with it, you can go ahead and cut it and get your t-shirt made. I tend to also look at the measurements in Cricut Design Space. So if I'm happy with this measurement here, looks good. We have a 9.74 inches wide design. The height is 8.25. I would typically go back to my t-shirt with my measuring tape and just kind of eyeball what this will look like on the t-shirt. Again, I'm a very visual person, and for me, seeing something works out much better than not seeing something. So once you're happy with your design, you'll go ahead and hit make. And of course, you'd mirror your project down here. So that's it for t-shirts. We're going to move on to the next blank so I can show you how I would go about measuring that. The next blank we have is our mug. Cricut also has a template for mugs on Design Space, just like the t-shirts I just showed you. However, it will work for visual purposes, but that is more so for infusible ink or sublimation. More so infusible ink because Cricut right now doesn't do sublimation, but it does work well for me at least. When I'm doing sublimation, sometimes I'll design on the template that's available. If you wanted to do one design, so you have it up here, just here, a picture or some wording right here, typically I would do it on the side that is facing outwards. So if somebody's a right-hander, then they'll drink it this way and the design is going to be on the outside. And then the same goes for left hand. However, if you're selling these mugs, I highly would recommend putting the design on both sides because you don't know where your customer, you don't know if your customer is right or left-handed. And also you don't know if your customer is purchasing this as a gift for somebody. So I would highly recommend doing the design at the front and the back so that it looks good. When measuring for designs, you can, if you're just doing the one piece on either side, you can just measure it with a ruler like this. And I would say we have about 3.5 inches available in length and probably about 2.5 inches. That's pretty standard. This is a 15-ounce mug, I believe. However, if you're going to do a vinyl decal all the way around and you wanted to figure out, how much space do you have, then I would use the measuring tape and bring that around. And we're looking at about 8.5 inches. So we can make our design 8.5 inches. So you may want to write, mom right across here. We have 8.5 inches to play with. Or if you want to make those something similar to a UV DTF sticker sheet, of course with one color vinyl, you can do that as well and design your whole mug. You'll just need to know how much space you have. going up and down, just under 4 inches, about, I would say 3.6 would probably be the biggest I would go. And like I said, 8.5 across. And I'm taking those measurements because I'm going to show you what I would do if it was me. This would be the same case. If you're doing these glasses, you may want to do one full design, one color design right across the entire glass. And I tend to create a template in Design Space to do that. So let's head over to the computer again and I'll show you that one. So as I mentioned, the mug was 8.5 inches by about 3.5 inches. So, and that's if you're doing the entire mug, as I mentioned. So what I would do is I'd bring a shape in and I'll do a square shape. I can actually make this bigger. There we go. And like I said, it was 8.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches high. Change this to white. And let's just say we wanted to go ahead and put a happy Halloween on our mug. We'll center it. And if, for instance, you wanted to do some bats on either side of this, now we have a mug template that we can use. We can attach all of this together. And once we attach it, if I hit make, this will cut as one piece. And then we can add our transfer tape and stick it around the entire mug. That's one option. Of course, prior to hitting cut, I would highly suggest either hiding your template square or deleting it. The other option, as I mentioned, again in templates, we can grab the mug. My mug is 15 ounces. And this is what you get for the template in Design Space. So if I wanted to put this here, kind of give you an idea how it will sit, like so. Do keep in mind that these templates, like I said, are more so for infusible ink. So it's really pulling you away from being too close to that handle. But if it's vinyl, you could go closer to the handle. And that's why I do my own template by taking the measurements and creating a template on Design Space. That way I am ensuring that I'm using up all the space that I can. This one would be really good for if we wanted to do this black cat. You have an ant that loves black cats. I can now resize it to fit here. And as you can see, it's supposed to fit perfectly there. And when I did the measurements, I had 2.5 by the width to play with, and I believe it was 3 inches in the height. And this is going to work out perfectly. The size is perfect. I can cut this out of vinyl and I can add it to my mug. So a couple options when sizing for mugs. The same idea goes for glasses. I would more create the template because Cricut does not have, no, they don't have a glass template. So I would do this. I'd measure the glass can, create the template, and design away, which is what I did for that fall themed one, just to make sure that everything will fit. And I didn't create it as one big sticker like this. I did do them separate, but if it was all one color, I would totally have done it exactly like this and stick the entire thing on at one time. But that's about it for mugs and cups and tumblers. Same idea for tumblers as well when you're designing. We're going to move on to our next blank. For our next blank, we have canvases. And honestly, canvases seem like they should be pretty simple, but I can promise you, if you have a 10 by 10 inch canvas, it likely is not exactly 10 by 10 inches. So if I grab my ruler and I add it to the top of this canvas, as you can hopefully see, I'll zoom in a little bit, this is just under 10 inches. There's 10 inches and there's a gap that's there. So for me and for my trials and tribulations of doing this, I now always measure every single canvas, even though it has a sizing to it. So my 10 by 10 inch canvas is technically about 9 3/4 inches. And the same should go for up and down. Guys, this is a perfect square. Well, we hope it's a perfect square. Yeah. So 9 3/4 inches is the size of our canvas. This is important because if you're using iron-on in here, you make your design fit for 10 inches, there's a good possibility you're going to have it overlapping the sides. And we don't want that. We want it to fit nicely, nice and snug in our canvas. So let's head over to the computer and I'm going to show you how I would create my canvas on my computer. So the same concept will go for a canvas. I'm going to bring in a square and I'm going to resize it to the size that I just measured, which was 9.75. Now that I have my template on Design Space, I can go ahead and design this any which way I would like. I did recently create these canvases to paint, and this is where I actually learned my lesson on the sizing of the canvas. So I did the exact same thing. I brought in a template, my own template based on the size that I measured, and now I can add my design to this template, and as you can see, it looks like a perfect fit now. So if I had just gone in and did 10 by 10, there was a good possibility, or I'll show you, we'll do 10 by 10. This is going to overlap. You're going to lose your bottom portion of the word boo and a little bit of your bat's wings. And that's not going to be a nice looking canvas. We don't want that. So this is why it's so important to measure your design. Our design is 9.36 by 9.39, and it fits perfectly in here. So when we go ahead and cut this, our HTV won't overlap at all. So we're going to move on to the next blank. For our next blank, we have tea towels. And I'm showing tea towels because I want to show you what I do when I'm designing these things. And I'm kind of hopefully getting the gist of it now on how I do this, but just want to show you the last few here. So for tea towels, same idea. I'm going to measure top to bottom. And this is 11 3/4 inches. And then from side to side, 15.5 inches. I am going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to create my template on Design Space and I'll show you that right now. Let's head over to the computer. So for our tea towel, same idea. I'm going to bring my square in and I'm going to resize it. You do need to ensure you unlock when you're creating sizes that are not perfect squares. So my width was 15.5 inches and my height was 11.75 or 11 3/4. Changes to white. And we can go ahead and start designing. Now, if you're just putting wording on this, you can just grab your wording. Just wanted a happy Halloween tea towel. And I forgot to mention the reason why I'm only doing the half of the tea towel. Typically, when you have a tea towel, you're going to put it over your oven handle and you're only going to see that front half. And that's why I'm doing it this way. So if I had my happy Halloween like this, I'm good to go. It fits. It's not going to be an issue. I can cut this from HTV and iron it on to my towel. But what else we can do is kind of play around with the design. So I have one here. bring to the front. And I added the witches to this design. And now I have a fully designed tea towel. We could add some more bats, for instance, if we want. Let's add some bats to this design. There we go. Duplicate this and flip it. Make it a little smaller. There we go. Now, let's say we're happy with this design and we want to cut it exactly like this instead of layering it, for instance. We can select everything. So I'll detach this and I'm going to select all portions of the design and click on attach. Before we hit make, I'm actually going to remove that template that I created, and now I can go ahead and create and hit make. Now here's my design. Of course, we're going to mirror the design, and this is going to cut as one piece. Then we can just weed it and add it exactly as is to our tea towel. If you didn't do it this way, you will get them by detach. This is what it's going to look like. All the little bits are on two different sheets, and there is no reason for that. To me, this is more of a waste of vinyl than having it all as one piece, and we can weed the whole thing and add it. And it's your time as well, right? If you're selling these, that's some time that's going to take. The only time I can see anyone wanting to have it separate is if it's different colors, of course. Then you're going to layer it on, and that's a whole nother story. So if you are looking to create one big design and you don't want to have to worry about piecing things back together, select everything and click on attach. Please note, this is only if the design is going to be cut out of one color only. And I'll show you quickly what I mean. If I change these bats to purple, and now I select everything and click attach, our bats turn back to black. Because Cricut can't cut something out of black and something out of purple on one cut. There are hacks to do that, but if you're not using a hack, there is no way to do that. So we're going to move on to the last blank that we have. The last ones that we're going to measure are our acrylic blanks. I have a luggage tag, I have some keychains, and I have this hexagon. I use this a lot for cake toppers. And how I go about measuring it, same way, just using my smaller ruler this time. That's why I really like this one. We have 3.5 inches down and 2 inches across. This one is 2 3/4 inch down, and we're looking at about 3.5 inches across. This one, 2 inches by 2 inches, 1 3/4 by 2. Now, 1.5 by 1 3/4. For these ones, we have all these shapes available on Cricut Design Space. So once I have my measurements figured out, I am going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to head over there so I can show you, and I'll just tell you how I deal with the little holes that some of these have. So we have our shapes in, and I literally just went to shapes. And the free shapes, we have all the shapes that we need. We have the circle, we have the hexagon ×2, we have the heart, and we have this, I don't have that one out yet, pennant. I'm going to flip this this way. There you go. I'll change this to white. And for it's bigger so we can see. Okay. So for the keychains, which is these three shapes here, I have them sized according to how big they are. So our circle, I think, was actually 2 inches. So let's check that again. It's just under 2 inches now that I look at it again. So that's why I had it at 1.75. It's more like 1.79. We have a little bit more to play with. For the heart, just under 2 inches in width, depending on where you put it, because of course the top part of the heart would be bigger than this part. So I did 1.5, and I think 1.5 is fair. And downwards, we're looking at 1.5-ish. I think that's pretty good. The hexagon, we are looking at just about 1.5. I think that works. And I'm going to show you what I would do once I have my measurements and my design in place. So for your keychains, we need to factor in that we have the hole at some part of the keychain. So the heart is in the corner, the circle and the hexagon are at the top. When designing, you want to make sure you're not near that hole. Of course, this boo is a simple shape, but if let's say we were doing this pumpkin, we can make it bigger. And this looks like it should fit our shape without any issues, even the stem, because the hole is like right there. So I think we're good here. But what I like to do is I like to look at the sizing. This is what I'm looking at right here, 1.61 by 1.43 inches. I'm going to grab my blank from that I'm using, and I'm going to check and see if 1.61 by 1.43 will fit and not touch the hole that's in the keychain. And I've just done that. I have the circle in my hand, and I'm actually going to show you at the table after as well. But I can tell you that that sizing will fit this circle. So if I went ahead and did a pumpkin for my hexagon, a bit bigger, and a touch smaller. Again, the hole is up there. I'll measure based on the sizing here. 1.15 will fit perfectly by 103. We have about 2 inches going across to fit this, and we have about under the hole almost 1.5 inches to play with. So we're good. We'll do the same thing with the heart. Smaller. For the heart, we have the hole either on this side or this side, so we are fine. And our pumpkin size is 0.89 in width, and we have the width is 0.89, and this is perfectly fine because we have about 1 3/4 of an inch across. But the height, because of course in a heart we have this portion to deal with, we have approximately 1.5 inches, and our pumpkin is 0.79, so we have more than enough space. So the same goes for my keychain, or sorry, my luggage tag. Go here and put some travel wording. Travel more, worry less. And then we can put a little airplane. That's a cute keychain. I am pretty sure we have enough space to clear the top of this keychain. But what I will do again, I'm actually going to bring this down some, and I can bring my airplane down, and I'm going to select the airplane and the wording. And as you can see, we have 1.81 by 301. So our width, as you know, we had 2 inches, and I'm now going to measure under the hole of the keychain, and I have probably just 301. So I think to be on the safe side, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Now my 2.97 is perfect on my keychain. And lastly, our acrylic disc that I mentioned was something I use for cake toppers. I use this one, for instance. Our hexagon size is 2.75 in height and just over 3 in the width. Our happy birthday fits there nicely, and we can check the size. The width is 2.41, height is 1.78. We have more than enough space for our design. So just quickly, I'm going to move over to my craft table one more time just to show you these measurements in real time, I guess, real life. All right, let's head over there now. So like I mentioned, the travel portion is 1.79 by 2.97. So across, as you know, I had 2 inches, so 1.79 is approximately there. And now I'm actually measuring under the hole, and I have just over 3 inches. So that's why I said I took it up a little bit, because it was going to be quite tight. But now at 2.97, we're looking at it ending approximately there. So we have more than enough space for the keychain. On the birthday, same thing. Across was 2.41, and we have 3 inches across here, so we are definitely fine. The height was 1.78. We have more than enough space there as well. So that's how I do that. And just to show you, I did end up cutting the travel design, and as you can see, it's going to fit in there perfectly, just as I mentioned on the when we were on the computer. Whoops. This was not the greatest vinyl though. I don't know. I think I tried to use this before and I said the same thing. So I really need to just get rid of it. Or keep it for bigger projects maybe. Because it's not the greatest at all. There we go. So I'm going to move this aside so I don't damage that. And before that, these always have like a bit of a cover on it. Be careful when you're doing what I just did there, because you could potentially damage your acrylic. Okay, so now we can get this on. I'm going to line it up at the bottom first. Perfect. And the glare from the light is really bad. There we go. Ah, it looks so good. Wasn't the straightest, but it's all good. It looks so good though. And we can take the other side off. And there you have it. Now you should be a pro at cutting your designs perfectly every single time. Well, I say every single time, but there are times that I might forget a step and then I end up having to cut it over again. So don't beat yourself up if that's the case. These tips and tricks should give you the perfect cut, I would say 95% of the time. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give me the thumbs up, hit the bell button so you're notified when I post new videos, and of course subscribe to my channel. And I have to be honest, this video is late because this is my third time recording this video. So I really do hope you enjoyed it. I finally enjoyed putting it together after the first 2 times failed me miserably. But anyhow, until next week, I hope you have a fabulous week ahead. Take care. Happy crafting. Bye now.